on, Levon?
Not much. Just tough loss again.
Yeah.
You were at the game, so give us your take.
Uh, yeah. It was rough, man. A lot of Lions fans there. Um, yeah, but they were good for the most part. It wasn't, it's not like the Raiders.
Yeah.
But exciting game nonetheless. I mean, we did come back. We were down, 17-3 and 24-10 at certain points in the game. We got off to a slow start. The offense didn't get going that first quarter, and then it was the opposite. Then the offense was just unstoppable, and our defense couldn't stop anything. Um, so yeah, some big issues that we've been talking about. Lack of run game for the Chargers. You know, Seems like every first down we were going, 1 yards, 2 yards, some 3 yards every run, and then we're putting Herbert behind the eight ball, and he bailed us out the whole game. It's just the defense. We couldn't stop the run, and I was worried about Amon-Ra St. Brown, and he toasted us.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, this defense just keeps giving up big plays, and you know, it's got to be partly miscommunications, partly coaching. That we'll definitely talk about that 4th and 2 play where we played soft zone coverage, allowing the first down that sealed the game. Yeah, just rough because we saw all these issues coming back again to bite us. So yeah, what are your thoughts?
I mean, where do I begin?
Yeah,
That 4th and 2. Let's start there.
yeah,
Three guys around Sam Laporta, and it seemed like the play that the Chiefs have been running against us with Kelsey. Just circling, comes back into the middle and wide open. This wasn't in the middle, but still wide open, and three guys around him. Squat it down, deflect it, do something. They just let him get it and they tackle. And at that point, I was thinking just let them score and get the ball back. Because if you don't let them score and they get a first down, they're going to melt the clock and kick the field goal. And sure enough, that's what happened. And the worst is that they got even more yards after that, 4th and 2, and it was a chip shot at the end, basically. Um, but it's just miscommunication. One thing, just to put simply here, Kellen Moore's offense put up 38 points. Brandon Staley said that he's been calling the shots on defense. Well, his defense gave up 41. So to the Staley supporters, I guess at this point, if there are any, there is not much argument left for him to remain as a coach, and we should give Kellen Moore a shot. We've said that we don't think he's going to get fired this season. I think he should have been fired last year after that Jacksonville loss. But at this point, what's the point of getting a new coach this late into the season? I mean, you look at the Broncos. I'll give you three examples here. You look at the Broncos. They played the Dolphins earlier this season. Dolphins scored 70 on them. And people were saying, oh, Peyton, he's not doing well, blah, blah, blah. They just beat the Chiefs and the Bills. And they're 4-5. Same record as the Chargers. The Vikings, they were 0-3 after they lost to us. They lost Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, Cam Akers. They're 6-4. And Joshua Dobbs, he's doing a very good job. But coaching matters. And I think, there's another team. Oh, the Bills. They fired their OC today. So it's like all these coaches are either improving their style, their calls, whatever the case might be, or holding them accountable. And the head coach for the Bills is on the hot seat as well, because I think the Bills have higher expectations than the Chargers for whatever reason. But I don't know, like what point do you get tired of the constant letdown by the coach and by this defense? It was very disappointing to watch, and to give up 40. We knew this was a good offense. We said it all week. Gibbs, Montgomery, Amon-Ra, and Laporta, they're great players. But to give up 41 points and not be able to stop the run even once, going back to what Sebastian Joseph Day said after that loss against Jacksonville. we are going to remember this and not forget and all that. And now it's happened again. Where Joseph Day hasn't been anywhere this season. We haven't heard his name much. I mean, Morgan Fox has done a fine job, I think, and Joseph Day hasn't done anything. And their offensive line is very good for the Lions. So Thule, Mack, Bosa were shut out, and that's what I was looking for. Last game, which I said last week, we saw them all get sacks against the Jets. Let's see if against a better offensive line they're going to do it, and they were very quiet, all three. So everyone on the defense was just bad. I think Derwin was the best, but at the same time, Derwin got that helmet-to-helmet call. And we've said that before too, with Bosa and Derwin and those constant penalties that they get. So defensively, was just horrible. Offensively, man, wide receiver core, all of them played incredibly well. Quentin Johnston, Jalen Guyton, both got touchdowns. Keenan Allen, remarkable. I mean, he is top 3 right now, and people could argue that he's top 1. He's been that good. Herbert played very well. I think that finger injury is getting a bit better. Only if he had some more time to throw the ball, that would have been better, but he did his job. Offensive line, I mean, they did a decent job. Pipkins got, I think, 1 penalty, but overall they did a decent job. And then Austin Eckler, like you said, the run game wasn't there. He had a couple of drops, which is not common for Eckler. So it's like he's doing better. It's just not that level that we've seen him perform at before, like last year, for example. And it will be hard to duplicate it, but just simple dump offs, he's dropping those. So I don't know if one foot's out the door for him or what the case might be, but he's got to do better. I mean, I saw people comparing Joshua Kelly's stats to Eckler's and saying that Kelly's doing better. But we've seen what Kelly can do as a running back 1, and it's nothing, So I'm not ready to dump Eckler because I think this team needs him. It's just you need another running back to kind of complement that, and you don't have it right now. So
yeah, you need a power back, a Derrick Henry type.
Yeah,
which would have been great to try to trade for at the deadline. Who knows what their asking price is, but still, if the goal is to win right now, that we can see on the roster, the run game just isn't getting it done, and I think partly that's that's the O line too. Clapp's been doing a good job in pass protection, but doesn't seem like they're opening those holes. And I think missing Lindsley is huge in that area.
Absolutely. It's that right side of the offensive line that's always been the problem, I think. And I don't know. Pipkins did a decent job, I think. It just wasn't enough because the defense couldn't get one stop.
Yeah.
So, and we expected the running backs to have a big game, right? Gibbs and Montgomery. They're, in my opinion, the best duo running back in the league. But that's what we need, like a Montgomery, because Eckler can be that Gibbs type player, but then you need a Montgomery, and you don't have that right now. So,
yeah, and I forget which player it was on the Chargers said that they ran the same play that Jacksonville did. Travis Etienne, the 4th down play that sealed the game for them, and then it worked again against us.
Yeah.
So our defense just giving up way too many big plays. It seems like they're out of position a lot of times. That 4th and 2 play you talked about, we were like in a soft zone coverage. We were like allowing 3 yards when all they needed was 2.
Right. And I don't understand why. If nothing else, you're gonna let them get the touchdown at that point.
Yeah, and the play right before that where they gave up, what was it, something like 50 yards.
Yeah.
There was nobody on that side of the field to defend. It was wide open.
I mean, every wide receiver like Amon-Ra, Devontae Adams, CeeDee Lamb, all these wide receiver ones, Justin Jefferson in week 3, Tyreek Hill week 1, we remember that. They have killed the Chargers defense. Yes, J.C. Jackson was a problem, but he wasn't the only problem. They are getting torched by these wide receiver ones.
And we should mention Michael Davis. Only played a little bit of the first quarter. He was
Yeah,
sick. He came out of the game. Um, so that I'm sure that played a part. But Leonard did a pretty good job in his
yeah,
place.
yeah. I think so.
Yeah. So yeah, the lack of pressure, 0 sacks.
Yeah,
That
I
was
was
huge.
surprised, but I know how good that offensive line is. But still, it's like they weren't even trying.
Yeah.
And Khalil Mack after the game, he was saying that they had prepared to face this team, and like they did the complete opposite of what they prepared for. What is that supposed to mean?
Yeah.
Adjust.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's that's the coach's job to adjust. I
Yeah. Yeah.
mean, it's just
It's not like defense. Isn't as complicated as offense can be.
right.
It's uh, yeah,
That first drive for the Lions, when they constantly kept converting on those fourth downs, I was like, this is not going to be a good night. This is going to be a long game for this team because they couldn't get a stop. Every fourth down they converted, and like third down you stop them, and then fourth down you can't. It's just I don't know. That's a recipe to use in the playoffs. If I'm the Lions, just be aggressive because it works. Like you put up 41 points, it works. But against teams like the Niners, I don't know if it will. But I think they'll go far if they don't meet the Niners in the playoffs. They will go far because this is a good team. Um,
yeah,
so I mean, I said last week I believe we should win the next two of three. It's not realistic to ask them to beat the Lions and the Ravens, right?
yeah,
But now you have to. Um, so you can't dwell on it. What happened. 41 points is embarrassing. They just didn't have an answer. That's just the bottom line. And now you get Jordan Love. He hasn't done great. What I've noticed though, he's not afraid to sling the ball. He goes deep and a lot. And it's like you see this defense and you go, okay, Jordan Love has a green light. Throw deep as much as you want because they have Romeo Dobbs and Jaden Reed and Christian Watson. Although Watson hasn't done much, but Reed, he's a beast, and Dobbs, he's gonna get his yardage. So it's gonna be difficult to contain.
yeah. It seems like Dobbs has been the number one
Yeah,
receiver for them. Yeah, especially
yeah,
if you're playing fantasy. He's the guy you may want to roll out against the Chargers.
yeah.
And yeah, Watson hasn't really done much. Yeah,
And they played the Steelers last week, and Dobbs, I think, had a touchdown. So definitely fantasy wise, start him. This is
yeah,
Charger fans saying is start him.
yeah,
But I would even pick up Reed. If it's a deep league, pick up Reed and start him because these guys are going to get, you know, they're going to get their yards and they're going to get their points fantasy wise. And you have a two-headed monster there too in Green Bay with Dillon and Jones.
mhm,
Although it's nowhere near, of course, Montgomery and Gibbs, but Dillon hasn't done much. But again, he's that threat in the red zone. And then Jones, you can't let him have like, let's say, I don't know, 2 receptions, 50 yards. Like the typical Chargers defense does.
yeah,
It just can't happen, or they're not winning that game. And if they don't win that game, they're done. Everything lined up too. Like this past week, and we'll talk about this later. Everything lined up. The team that you needed to lose lost, and you just had to win and couldn't. That's what frustrated me the most. I think. Like if these teams had won, okay, we're done, right? But
yeah,
they lost and are giving you an opportunity to make the playoffs. The Texans are 5-4. They're in the playoffs right now.
yeah,
So you had such a big opportunity and you missed it. But you got to make up for it now. You got to beat the Ravens, beat the Packers, beat the Patriots. That's the only way you go forward. And then you get 2 divisional games, I think, against the Broncos and Raiders. And the Raiders is a Thursday night game. So you need all those games, if you ask me. In a perfect world, you need all those games. And then you play the Bills, I think, week
yeah,
16, Saturday night.
yeah.
So a lot of important games coming up. And, if you don't beat the Packers, forget it.
Yeah, yeah. I think we need at least 10 wins. And looking at the schedule, I think we can get there. There's uh, there's winnable games still there. It's going to be tough, but it's doable. It's realistic.
Yeah.
But but what
You know,
what Charger team are we going to get?
exactly. After that Titans loss, I just I stopped saying this is a winnable game and this is an easy opponent. I just stopped because
Yeah,
I guess there's no such thing with the Chargers, you know.
yeah,
And we saw the defense play well, you know, week 8 and 9, and then we said, you know, let's see them play against a legitimate offense, and they gave up 41. I don't know if it is what it is. They get comfortable and say, okay, you know, we did our job 2 weeks. We can take the week off. I don't know what it is, but they got to step up. Like I said, Love loves throwing deep.
yeah,
If you're not going to pick them off, you're going to get torched. So that's just the bottom line with the Packers. They don't really care. I mean, they are. I don't think they're in contention right now. So they're going to launch that ball. They don't care. Um, it's it could be a shootout again,
mm,
but you know I think the Steelers won on Sunday. So that defense is very good, though. You know they're nothing compared to us, but then the offense is pretty bad. But one thing about the offense is the running backs. Even Najee Harris against the Packers did very well. But Jalen Warren, I've been a fan of for a long time now. He's going to be the running back one eventually in Pittsburgh. But Austin Eckler has to kind of watch those highlights of Jalen Warren and emulate that type of game because you know it's right in front of you. Like this happened last week; it wasn't last year. So
yeah,
just try and find those weak points of that defense and expose it because that's what you need to do if you want to win Sunday.
yeah. And I think Eckler's been good in the passing game. You know,
Yeah,
like he has his whole career. You know,
yeah,
he gets those passes and he gets in space. He's hard to take down,
yeah.
and he had some of those plays last game too. But yeah, we needed to get going in the run game because these first downs just kill us. Only
Mhm.
getting 1 or 2 yards every time. You know, you're putting the offense behind the 8 ball, and
Right.
Herbert bails us out every time. But you know, you can't keep doing that.
Yeah.
You can't.
And you know, it's funny you mentioned that now, but the critics of Herbert, right? Last 2 weeks, oh, Herbert's quiet, he's not doing anything against bad teams, this and that. Well, they're very quiet now. You know, they're nowhere to be found. But
Yeah,
I think one thing about Eckler is he's got to be treated as a Darren Sproles type of player. And then you need, again, a heavyweight type running back like Derrick Henry.
yeah,
Whether you get that in the draft in Audric Estime or I don't know, sign a running back like that or trade for one, whatever the case might be. But Joshua Kelly, I don't think he cuts it because you know he's 6 foot, I believe, and nowhere near the size of Derrick Henry. So you need that type of kind of um, like a Mike Tolbert. You know, that's a perfect example. Mike
yeah,
Tolbert was a great RB for us because of his red zone threat. So that's the type of running back they need, I think. But this season, yeah, you know, I don't know in the play if they make the playoffs and the run game performs the way they did against the Lions, and you have the defense perform the way that it did, and then people criticize Herbert, I think I'm going to lose it because you know you are not going to win a playoff game if the defense gives up 41 points. I don't care against who it is. It can be against the worst defense in the playoffs for the AFC. You're going to lose that game.
very reminiscent of the second half versus Jacksonville
Yeah,
because our run game wasn't there, and our defense wasn't there. You know,
yeah,
yeah, it's
yeah. And you need the run game because, like the Jacksonville game, you were up by 27,
yeah,
melt the clock, but you can't if they're not getting first downs.
yeah,
And then you're forced to throw, and you're forced to, you know, let's say in completion, the time stops.
yeah,
So they should have addressed this last year, not now. They should have addressed this last year in the off season.
yeah.
But
And that goes back to coaching, like
yeah,
you said. Yeah, Staley, he shouldn't be there. Yeah, uh,
he should have been long gone.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and it's showing now. The good coaches are adjusting. Um, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. You know, Sean Payton would have made sense at the time. Um, hey, it is what it is, though.
do you think Harbaugh is someone you know we may go after next season?
I've been wanting Harbaugh.
Yeah,
It's just this cheating scandal now. I don't know what's going to happen if,
Yeah.
let's say, they're found to have cheated. I don't know what kind of career he'll have.
Yeah.
But I would love Harbaugh. Yeah, if let's say that's not true, the cheating scandal, or if he's given a second chance, whatever the case might be, I would love to have him. Because look at the available coaches, there aren't many. I mean, there are those that are better than Staley, but not many.
Yeah.
Um, and on ESPN, you have Stephen A. Smith constantly calling for Staley to be fired because they're kind of wasting Herbert's career, which I agree. And
Yeah.
I feel bad for guys like Keenan Allen who have been there their whole career, and it's kind of been wasted in a sense that you're not being able to get ahead in the playoffs. He's breaking all the accolades possible, which is phenomenal. But at the same time, he wants the end game, which is the championship. So I don't want to see him leave. I think Keenan should finish his career with the Chargers. But at the same time, just like Gates and Rivers, I don't want them to be, to go out without a Super Bowl. Um, so this is the year for this team to win it. I still believe that. Even with Mike Will out, now that Guyton's back and he played very well against the Lions, Quentin Johnson's getting involved more, which I really like. And Palmer is still out. So once he comes back, that's another addition to the receiver core. And we're not going to face an old line like the Lions every week, right? So that defensive line is going to get to the quarterback. Hopefully, we see that against the Packers. I haven't watched many Packers games, so I don't know what that O line is like. But hopefully, we get to them. I mean, it doesn't matter. You have three of the best um, defensive ends in the game,
Yeah.
and I still consider Joey Bosa the best, one of the best, because I don't know. I don't know if I will be after the season, but for now, I do. It's just he has to wake up. I don't know what's wrong with him. One game we see him go crazy, then the next 3 games he's quiet.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, there was a report he was sick before too. I wonder if he has the same thing Michael Davis has. If
Possibly.
if that affected him at all.
It's
Who knows?
possible.
But you still have Tooley there. You still have Mac
Yeah.
there. So yeah, there's really no excuse.
No, there isn't. And it's like it's always something with Bosa.
Yeah,
It's always an injury or he's sick or whatever the case might be. But dude, just if you're not gonna give it your all, stay on the sideline. Because Morgan Fox could be given that opportunity as a defensive tackle, and he's been getting to the quarterbacks too. So just stay on the sideline if you're not 100%. I
yeah.
mean,
I saw that report. Chris Rumpf out for the year. Got injured warming up. Uh, yeah,
he got injured warming up, and he's out for the year because of that.
yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And people are blaming the turf, the SoFi
Oh,
Stadium turf. Uh, yeah,
yeah. I don't know. They should have. It's a beautiful stadium, but just the details of it should have been, I guess, better. I don't know.
yeah, yeah. You see with soccer players demanding grass fields, and they get them.
Yeah.
So you think with the NFL with so much money,
Right.
they would they would be doing that, and maybe in the future they will, but they're behind right now and
Yeah.
keeping up. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, no, it's like because I feel like every week we say this: the defense did well, the offense didn't. The offense did well, the defense didn't.
yeah,
Never is it the offense did well and the defense did well. It's always one or the other. And I think
yeah,
that's the problem with this team. And that's why they're always mediocre, right? It's like you're not good enough to make it to the Super Bowl, but you're not bad enough to tank. You're like
yeah.
always in that middle.
Yeah, I guess against the Bears was the closest thing to a complete game.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even there, there were some struggles.
I mean the Jets game too.
Yeah,
The Jets
yeah,
game too. And the Raiders, I believe, beat the Jets, but barely.
yeah,
It was, and I think Conklin kind of interrupted Garrett Wilson's catch or something like that. Garrett Wilson had that catch, and the Raiders could have lost there. But it's better that they won because now we can take care of business against them and be 2-0, right, and own that tiebreaker. So I think that's a better win. It's better for the Raiders to have won that. But yeah,
Especially if Rogers comes back. Yeah, yeah,
I they're saying mid-December. I'm just hoping that somehow this team just collapses, the Jets, and they keep losing because if Rodgers comes back and they're at, let's say, 6 losses, they're making the playoffs. That's going to be a scary sight.
yeah,
But, I don't know. I don't know how Rodgers is going to be the whole year. Basically, he hasn't played. I
yeah,
don't know what kind of Rodgers we're going to get.
yeah.
But you're going to see a lot of the receivers that aren't involved now, like Lazard and Cobb, a lot more involved. And Garrett Wilson's going to take his game to another level.
Yeah,
So,
superstar status, and
yeah.
yeah. Rogers, I wouldn't expect much mobility from him.
Yeah, which I don't think they need. I mean, they have everything around him perfectly. So I don't know. Zach Wilson, he played better, I think, against the Raiders, but still not good enough to win. And then Aiden O'Connell, he kind of force fed Devontae Adams in the beginning. I wasn't watching, but I was, keeping up with it play by play. Force fed Adams, which is what they need to do if they want to win. But can they sustain that? Is the question. Um, so I think they have to also feed Josh Jacobs. But the Raiders have enough talent, I think, to make the playoffs. Hopefully they don't. Obviously, we want Chargers to make it, but there are a lot of good teams, is my point. There are a
Yeah,
lot of good teams, a lot of competitive teams, and this is probably the most competitive I've seen the AFC in a long time. NFC too, but AFC
yeah.
especially.
And even the Broncos, like you mentioned earlier, are getting those big wins. So yeah, you really can't take any game lightly from here on out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's look at the schedule actually for these teams. Let's see.
Okay.
Can you see that?
Let's see. Yeah. All right.
You can see it?
Yeah, I
Okay,
can see.
cool. So this is just the standings in general. Chiefs first, Ravens, Jaguars, Dolphins, Steelers, Browns, and then we have the Texans. I think honestly the Texans make the playoffs.
Yeah.
Um, and then you got the Bengals, Colts, Bills, Raiders, Chargers, Jets, Broncos, all 4 and 5 from 12 through 14, and then all 5 and 5 from 9 through 11, and 5 and 4 Bengals at 8. So this is, I mean, look how close that was. The Bengals and Texans are both 5 and 4, but the Texans took care of business, and now they're in the playoffs. Something that the Chargers cannot do for whatever reason. But let's look at the schedule here for the Bengals.
Yeah.
They've got Baltimore Thursday night, so that's a huge game in and of itself.
Yeah.
Thursday night in Baltimore, which makes it even bigger for the Bengals to win. But if we go back to the standings, Ravens are 7-3, Bengals are 5-4. So for us, it would be beneficial if the Ravens were to win that game
Yeah.
because then the Bengals will be 5-5. They'd be at 5 losses. We'll be at 5 losses, hopefully, assuming that we win Sunday. So let's just hope the Ravens win there. But then they get Pittsburgh again. Both teams need to win. And then at Jacksonville, both teams need to win because the Texans are creeping up on the Jaguars, and I think Texans will overtake the Jaguars eventually.
Yeah.
And then Indianapolis, both teams need to win. So the next 4 weeks for the Bengals are against contenders. And then you get the Vikings, who are 6-4 and playing great. And then you get a Saturday game against the Steelers in Pittsburgh, and I believe that's a doubleheader. And then the night game is Chargers Bills. But Saturday at Pittsburgh, then at KC, and then they close it out against Cleveland. So basically, the Bengals have all winning teams, are facing all winning teams for the
Yeah.
rest of the season.
Yeah. Brutal schedule, and without T Higgins right now too.
Yeah,
Their number two receiver. So
it's going to be very tough for the Bengals. And I know that they're out currently, but man, that will help the Chargers regardless. because they still have the Steelers in there, the Browns, I believe. The Browns they get week 18. That's the final week. So there are a lot of games here that are winnable, and a lot of games that you can drop. Um, so anything can happen
Yeah.
in the playoffs. Anything can happen in the playoffs and prior to the playoffs. I mean, you look at now. Let's go to the Steelers' schedule. They get the Browns in Cleveland. They play in Cincinnati against Arizona, who just won last week with Kyler Murray back
Yeah.
and James Conner back. And they get the Patriots, then in Indianapolis, that's another playoff team, against the Bengals, at Seattle, playoff team, at Baltimore, playoff team. So Steelers have a tough road ahead of them too.
Yeah.
So it's very unpredictable what's going to happen. But the good thing is that these aren't easy games for any of these teams.
Yeah.
So Chargers have to capitalize on those weak games that they have, like the Patriots and the Broncos, the
Great.
Raiders. So,
Yeah.
and then the Browns, they get the Steelers at home this Sunday. That's going to be a big game because if you look at the standings, they're both 6-3.
Yeah.
So one of them is bound to lose, go to 6-4, which benefits the Chargers, of course.
Yeah. And Watson got injured again. He was supposed
Mhm.
to get an MRI. So we'll see.
Honestly, I think they're fine with that backup quarterback.
Yeah.
They're
PJ
fine.
Walker is a good backup. Yeah.
Yeah, they have a great kicker, Dustin Hopkins. We're familiar with him.
Yeah.
He's been doing great this year. No knock on Cameron Dicker, obviously. I'm more than happy with Cameron Dicker. He's incredible. But Hopkins has been doing very well this year. So they get the Steelers, and then they play in Denver. That's a big game for the Chargers because either way, again, a loss for either team helps the Chargers. And then they play in LA against the Rams. Then they get Jacksonville, again, a big game. Chicago at Houston, which is going to be probably the biggest game in the schedule for the Browns. And then New York, and then at Cincy. So again, Cincinnati, Cleveland has a easier schedule, I would say, than the Steelers and Bengals, but still they have some tough games.
Yeah.
And lastly, the Jaguars, they get Tennessee Sunday, and if they can't win Sunday against Tennessee, I think they're done.
Yeah.
And when I mean done, I mean they're out of the playoffs
Yeah.
because it gets brutal for them after that. At Houston, at home against Cincy, at Cleveland versus Baltimore, at Tampa. And then you close out with a softer schedule versus Carolina and at Tennessee. But we've seen teams collapse in week 18, and I could see them collapsing against Tennessee
Yeah.
because it's a road game. So I think week 11 is a very important game for the Jaguars. And they were on a winning streak and it was stopped. So
Yeah. They got crushed, right? By
yeah, San Francisco.
49ers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so that Tennessee game is very important for them, but they have a brutal 4-game stint here. And then at Tampa Bay is not going to be easy either.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't think Jaguars will win the division. I think the Texans will. But going back to this, I I don't know. I mean, the Dolphins, I'm not sure what their schedule looks like, but they're currently the divisional leaders,
Yeah.
and I don't think that'll change. Um, Bills could sneak up on them, but I don't think that's going to happen. You know, they're coming off a bye week 2, so I think they'll take care of business going forward. Um, but it could very well be that the Chargers make the playoffs and have to play the Ravens, Jaguars, or Dolphins.
Yeah.
And again, I'd rather play the Jaguars or Dolphins in that type of weather.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and we still have a few pretty tough games left on the schedule. Easier schedule than these guys, but
yeah.
we have Ravens, we have Bills, we have Chiefs week 18. So we'll
Let
see if
me let
we'll
me
see.
pull it up real quick.
Yeah.
Let's pull that up and let's pull up the Bills one too,
Okay.
just to see. the difference in schedule strength. Um, but yeah, I mean Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, they both have very tough schedules, and with that Pittsburgh offense, I don't think they're going to survive
Yeah.
those types of games. As good as that defense is, I don't think they'll survive. So
Yeah.
for Buffalo, you have New York, you have at Philadelphia, which I don't see them winning that game. But
Mhm.
what's interesting is the Eagles get the Chiefs and the Bills back to back, so that should
Okay.
be fun to watch.
Yeah.
But I don't see them winning against the Eagles, and they play in Kansas City after the bye week, and then they play the Cowboys in LA against the Chargers, Patriots, and then in Miami. So not an easy schedule. Dallas has been playing a lot better. New England, they're gonna probably win that game, Buffalo, but we get the Patriots too, so
Yeah.
let's take care of business against them. I could see them losing every game that they have except for the Jets and the Patriots. Um, but you never know with the Jets. They might turn it up. You never know. But the first game that they played, they actually lost. The one that Aaron Rodgers got hurt, they lost that game.
Yeah. And
So
you never know with the Bills either, because it's like the
right,
Chargers. There's so much talent. Josh Allen he can win games and lose games for them.
right, right.
So you never
I
really
just
know.
feel like because of that loss against Denver, they're going to step up. But then again, you would think that after the loss against Cincy, and they lost again. But yeah, I don't see them losing to New York unless something drastic happens. But then again, you have a lot of tough games coming up: Philly, Kansas City, Dallas, Chargers, Miami,
Yeah.
and most of those games are on the road except for Dallas. So that's a brutal schedule for the Bills.
Yeah.
Going to the Chargers now, you get at Green Bay versus Baltimore, at New England versus Denver, at Vegas versus Buffalo, at Denver versus Kansas City. So not an easy schedule for the Chargers either. However, the games like New England, Green Bay, Denver, Vegas,
Yeah.
you got to win those.
Yeah.
Those, I mean, you lose one of those, you're likely done.
Yeah.
Um, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. You can get 5 wins right there,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah. And
that's
then
9 wins, but you need one more at least.
one more. Yeah. So
I think you had predicted 12 in the beginning of the season. That's still a possibility. And I had
yeah,
11. Huh?
yeah, we're not getting 12. We're not running the table.
Yeah, you said 12, I was like, whoa, you have a lot of confidence in the defense, maybe. But I said 11 because of that defense. Just wasn't 100% confident.
Yeah.
Um, but like you look at these losses: Miami by 2, Tennessee by 3, Dallas by 3, and then Detroit by 3. It's insane. It's not even 7-point losses. It's 3 points.
Yeah.
The only actual loss we had was against Kansas City.
Yeah.
The others should have been wins, and we say this every year. It
Mhm.
should have been a win, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, you look at like the points for where was it? Let me pull that up real quick. AFC West standings. Just to show you how insane this is. So points for, we're leading currently at 239.
Wow.
Points against, somehow the Broncos are leading that. But that just shows how bad the Broncos defense has been as well. So we got to expose that. And, Herbert obviously is levels above Russell Wilson, especially at this point of Wilson's career.
Yeah.
So those should be wins both games, no exceptions.
Yeah.
Um,
Give it Broncos giving up 70 points. Definitely,
true,
definitely
true,
played a part in that. Yeah.
true. Yeah, but at the same time, we gave up 41. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and then like 37 or 36 in week one. So yeah, but
Yeah.
the Raiders too, they're very low points for. So those 3 games, 2 against Broncos, 1 against the Raiders, have to be wins. Patriots have to be a win. I mean, you look at the let's just go to AFC standings real quick in general. And you look at where was it? The Patriots, they've allowed 238 points. So, you would think that they're a defensive juggernaut, but they're not.
Yeah.
And offensively, they're a disaster. Even with Zappi in the game, they threw a pick against the Colts. So, I mean, that should be a win, no excuse. And then you look at the NFC and you go to the Packers. Packers are more balanced, but the offense isn't dominant, right? They've scored 179, given up 182.
Yeah.
It's the defense that's concerning me this Sunday because that defense is very good. Um, so let's hope that Herbert, can carry this team again. But like you look at the points against here, Niners, Cowboys, and then Buccaneers are the only teams that have given up less than the Packers. So that is concerning. But
Yeah, we're gonna need Quentin Johnston to keep progressing.
yeah,
Uh, that was his best game last game. He got his first touchdown.
yeah,
Drew a couple big interference calls and had he was upset at himself for not catching one of those went off his hands. I saw Herbert go up to him and kind of tell him like, hey, stay in there, it's gonna be all right. And he he did. He had a good game the rest of the way.
yeah.
And Guyton was huge. Touchdown, making some big catches. You know, First time in a long time. With that
Since
ACL.
2021.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But no, I mean, looking at the schedule, you win against Green Bay. I don't see them losing until the Bills possibly, and even that, with the way Bills are playing, we should win that.
yeah.
I don't see a loss if you beat Green Bay until the Chiefs, and even that game, they might rest their guys.
Well, Ravens. We
I
still.
I think they beat them.
You
I
think
think
we
they
do?
beat them because the Browns scored 33 against
But
them.
but but the Browns have a good defense.
Browns
That's
do. Browns
yeah,
do. Absolutely. Browns do. And they weren't playing that well, the Browns defense, until the final, like the fourth quarter.
yeah,
Garrett had a couple sacks on Lamar.
yeah,
And then they had was it, the Ravens had a pick six, I believe.
yeah,
Yeah, the Ravens had a pick six. So the Ravens offense really only scored 24 points. But the defense is very good for the Ravens. But at the same time, they have those moments where you give up 33 to the Browns. I- That is concerning if you're Baltimore. But at home, we should win that. It's not like we're playing in Baltimore. So
yeah,
I don't know if we got at least okay. We got to split that at least. Either beat the Packers or beat the Ravens, and then win the rest, right? And if that happens, of course, we make the playoffs. But you got to take care of business against the weaker teams, and one of the weaker teams are the Packers.
yeah.
So
And we did see last year with the Chargers taking care of business down the stretch. We got on a winning streak,
yeah,
beat Miami, which a lot of people didn't think we were gonna beat, and
yeah,
and uh, and until that disastrous Broncos game where Mike Williams got hurt, we were on a roll last year, and that's the same thing we're gonna have to do this season.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
It seems like it's happened every time ever since Herbert's been quarterback for this team. It seems like we've had to make a surge at the end, and we have, and falling short against the Raiders 2 years ago, and then last year, willing our way into the playoffs. But this year has to be the same. Um, but yeah, I mean, you got the Patriots, Broncos twice, Raiders, all have to be wins. Um, and then you get, I mean, the Bills should be a win. Um, should be.
yeah,
We always say should be, but
yeah,
not all the time does it happen. Um, but no, I mean, Sunday, you just have to slow down these receivers. I think that's the key. You just have to slow down these receivers. And that Packers defense is good. Um, they are good.
yeah,
So it's not going to be easy. And it's going to be in Green Bay where it's going to be freezing cold probably.
yeah.
So it's not going to be easy at all. But they're used to it. Hopefully by now, the younger guys like Herbert and Kelly and all these guys that are younger. I know Thule first season, Quentin Johnson first season. So I don't know what they've experienced in college, but it gets really cold in Green Bay at this
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so yeah, it's gonna be tough, but you gotta just slow down Jordan Love. You gotta slow down these receivers. That's the key. And then the offense has to get going. Yes, it's a tough defense, but you can't just kind of rely on the Chargers defense to take care of business because unfortunately, a lot of fans have lost faith in this defense. So
yeah. Uh, it, yeah. I mean, even the games we think will be easy, Patriots. Belichick is always, had our
yeah,
number. Uh,
yeah,
and so who knows? Who knows what we're gonna see? We just gotta hope for the best. Hope this defense comes through. You
yeah.
know,
I think the
and,
Patriots, you just hope Mac Jones is the quarterback
yeah,
because even with Rivers, they've struggled in New England. Um,
yeah,
so I think Herbert played once in New England. He struggled there. So it's not an easy place to play, but it's just this team as a whole is bad. Even the defense is bad.
yeah,
But I just remembered one thing. Someone had posted a Brandon Staley picture with his family and saying, "This is the guy you guys want to fire."
yeah,
And it's like, dude, it has nothing to do with his family. Everybody has a
yeah,
family. Everybody has to, work and support their family. It
yeah,
has to do with the job he's doing.
yeah,
Like if any ordinary person, unless you're an entrepreneur, goes to work and doesn't perform, you can get fired. And I know that because I used to be an employee. Now I'm an entrepreneur. But when I used to work for an employer, uh, they didn't have any mercy.
yeah,
Especially big corporations, they don't care. So to say that,
yeah,
we shouldn't fire him because of the family. Everybody has a family. He gave
yeah.
his defense gave up 41 points. Kellen Moore's offense put up 38. I think that in and of itself tells you who needs to be the head coach for this team.
I,
So
I agree. He's given Staley's been given a much longer leash than
exactly,
most NFL teams would give.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
look at the Bills. Look at the Bills. They were so good last year. The offense was rolling, and now they just fired the OC just like that.
yeah,
How many years have we had Staley? You
yeah.
know,
It seems like it's been a pattern with the Chargers.
yeah.
Lynn stayed longer. You know, uh, yeah,
I think I've said this before. I appreciate Lynn now. He kept these players in check. Um, he kind of made them respect the game and not take anything for granted. And I think the team played better because of that. But now you have no respect in the locker room, I don't think, for Staley. And why would you really? I mean, he's let you down so many times now. And I can see that in Austin Eckler, Joey Bosa. They don't want to play under this guy. And Eckler's come as close to saying it, like he's the problem. Get his ass out of there. And, nothing's being done. So
yeah,
at some point, you're going to have to say, okay, is it going to be the players or the coach? Who do you want to keep?
yeah,
So,
yeah. I got to say hi to Eckler's fiance Melanie at the game last game, so that was cool. Just
yeah.
seeing family, seeing players' family. Yeah, very nice person. Love her videos. If you've ever seen her videos on, okay, great dancer.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes brings Eckler into some of the dances too. Yeah, but yeah. Uh, but we love all these guys, even if they're having a hard time on the field. It's just
I mean, look, they are humans.
yeah,
No one's perfect.
yeah,
It's just we just want effort. If they show effort, that's all we ask for.
yeah.
Don't get roughing the passer calls and
That was
just
another tough call on Derwin. I have to say, it's like
yeah,
what was it? What is he supposed to do?
yeah, yeah. I
He
agree. I
Derwin
agree.
Derwin lowered to try not to hit the head, and the player lowered his body so that
Mhm.
there was. Yeah,
It just hurts because I think that was a third down too.
it
And
was that we were going to stop that drive. It kept it going, and I
yeah.
think they got a touchdown out of it. Um, yeah,
No, I love Derwin. I love the way he plays, and he's very aggressive, and that's what we need more of on this team. It's just at times he's too aggressive, and he gets dinged for it, and it costs the team. But again, no one's perfect, and on to the next one. I mean, hopefully they just learn from their mistakes. Not just Derwin, the rest of them.
yeah,
You can't allow all these wide receiver ones to have a feast on you and expect to win.
yeah.
So
Going back to no one's perfect, I love that tweet by Ryan Leaf. Did you see that one? Someone was talking about him being on a countdown as the number one draft bust of all
I saw
time.
that. I saw that.
Yeah, yeah, and he replied with, we're all more than one thing. I'm a a ex felon. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm an NFL analyst.
Ryan Leaf was an ex-felon.
He said he was.
Oh
He said
wow,
yeah, I know he went through a tough time with substance abuse.
I
Probably,
see.
yeah, I think he went through a time where he was stealing things. It got
Hmm.
so low. But yeah, we all have flaws. We're all multiple things.
Yeah, yeah, and
So
I mean, yes, I understand that these guys get paid millions of dollars. I get it, but at the same time, they still have a life outside of football, and you never know what might happen. A family emergency, a death in the family, whatever the case might be. They're humans. The money, yes, they have a lot of it, and we feed that, as fans. But that doesn't excuse them from, the responsibilities that they have off the field. So
yeah, yeah, we can't forget that. Sometimes seeing them on TV and all the money, it feels like they're superhuman, and they're not.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah,
No, one thing I like about this team is that none of them are troublemakers.
yeah,
Like Zay Jones got arrested the other day. We know about Tyreek Hill and Kareem Hunt and Deshaun Watson and all these guys. None of the Chargers, as of now,
yeah.
are like any of those guys. So,
And,
you
and
know,
that's and a lot of that's Telesco too, and
yeah,
the Chargers culture. They
yeah.
stay away from those guys.
That's what I like about this team, especially because they know how to, pick out the good guys and the guys who aren't gonna kind of make boneheaded decisions and cost the franchise anything either.
Uh,
But
unlike the Kansas City Chiefs and the
yeah,
Raiders, who have been known for picking up those types of guys.
right,
Yeah,
right. I mean, at the time, remember they had Tyreek Hill and Kareem Hunt
and
on
Kareem
the
Hunt,
same team.
and Frank. They had Frank Clark too.
Right,
Yeah,
right. And now the Browns have Deshaun Watson and Kareem Hunt. And it's like, what is this? They just stick together or what's
yeah.
going on? But the Raiders too, yeah, they've had a lot of guys like that.
Henry Ruggs. You can't forget
Henry
about.
Ruggs. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm just glad that we don't have any of those problems here. And we really haven't had it.
yeah,
So that is credit to the organization and the recruitment that they do. And I'm sure that they work with these guys, like especially the rookies. You get that first paycheck and you're like, whoa, you kind of don't know how to spend it or what to do with it. So I think they kind of guide them and kind of give these players as examples as to what might happen if you go down that road.
yeah.
So no, I think they're fine that in that sense. It's just on the field. You gotta be as good as you are off the field. Is my
Yeah,
is my
we,
point.
we we may even have players that are too humble because I remember meeting Justin Herbert and him shaking my hand saying, "Hi, I'm Justin." Like, like I don't know who you are. Like, there's this huge line for you, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, I mean, I think with Herbert, he's kind of getting that confidence back.
yeah,
He didn't have that in the beginning, especially with that finger injury. He's kind of getting it back, especially after those two losses, against Dallas and Kansas City.
Yeah.
but he's getting it back, and I just wish he had that like kind of confidence of Mahomes and Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, these guys, and it'll come maybe. With time, it'll come. But I remember Josh Allen. He had that confidence from the start.
Yeah.
And it's funny now on Twitter, you have this like kind of back and forth with Trayvon Diggs, Stephon Diggs' brother, saying Stephon should get out of there. And, where was Josh Allen when Diggs wasn't there? Like he was a nobody. But at the same time, you can say that about Diggs. Nobody really knew. Well, they
No,
knew
that's
Diggs with the Vikings, but like look at Justin Jefferson right now. No one talks about Diggs the way they do about Justin Jefferson.
yeah.
So, yes, they both elevated each other. It's just Trayvon is obviously making it seem like um, without Stephon, Allen will be nothing,
Yeah.
which is true. But at the same time, the other way around could be true too. So,
Yeah. With Herbert, it seems like uh, he kind of just wants to go with the flow of the game until like the Chargers are down, and then he's like, "All right, we need to do something, and
yeah,
I'm going to do it now," and he does
yeah.
it. And
But at the
it,
same time, you can't do
yeah,
that constantly because then, you get to the playoffs and it's a one and done, and you're kind of screwed if you
yeah,
don't perform at that level, and then you get crucified for it.
yeah.
So I get what you're saying, and you're right, but he shouldn't rely on that constantly.
No, yeah, no, especially not with this defense.
Yeah,
But yeah, with his hand, I noticed he didn't have the glove this time. This time
right.
he had a splint. So yeah, it
I'm
should be
sure it's
good.
getting better. I mean, it was
Yeah,
6 to 8 weeks recovery. He got that injury, I think, before bye week. So we're what now? Week 11? Week 11.
week
So it's like
11.
the seventh week now with that injury. So by week 13, he should probably get back to normal, I would think.
Yeah, and that first quarter, I did see him missing some throws when the offense was
Yeah.
struggling. He did miss some open receivers, and he wasn't looking Quentin Johnston's way at first
Mhm.
either. Johnston, I saw him getting open too, and
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
seems like during the game they were developing that trust more. So
Which is what
that's
we need.
yeah,
It's just going to be interesting now with Johnston. How does he play against the Packers? Right against that defense and on the road.
yeah,
How does he do? But I think once Palmer comes back, we'll be a lot better as a team.
yeah,
It's just it's frustrating because it's like if we had no name defenders, I'm like okay, whatever. Herbert has to take care
yeah,
of the game. He has to score and win us these games. But no, we have Derwin, Joey, Khalil Mack, Thule, Haloi Gilman. We have
mhm,
so many Eric Kendricks,
yeah.
and it's like
And Sebastian is supposed to be,
right,
yeah, yeah,
right. But that was the first game I think where I saw with Aloy Gilman on the field them struggle. Um, and again, they're a high-powered offense, you
yeah,
know. So I think had they gotten the stop on that fourth, or had they kind of let them score and we get the ball back and somehow win that game, this would be a completely different story. Would be possibly right on the brink of making the playoffs too.
it would have been the Browns game from 2 years ago I was at. That was another
Yeah,
shootout. That was both teams scored like 50 something points, and the Chargers, barely pulled it out.
yeah. I
And
remember Mike Williams had a huge game,
he did,
and
he did.
again we're missing Mike,
I,
but
I bought his jersey at that game because of because of the game he had. I'm like, it was an awesome feeling, scoring 50 something points and just barely pulling it out. And we were almost there. We were almost, maybe
yeah.
if we had Mike, maybe we would.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure if we had him, we would have won. But we would have won a lot of these games that we lost.
Yeah,
Um, See, that's the Herbert that we need, like that one against the Browns game, um, where he wasn't afraid to go deep. He was very accurate, right? Against the Raiders, that week 18, week 17, I think, at the time,
yeah,
where we lost. Still, he was incredible that game.
yeah,
Um, So that's the type of Herbert that we need. And I know we saw that week 10 and the defense screwed up, but if he continues playing like that, I promise the defense will get a few stops and will be able to get wins. if he continues playing the way he did.
And I have faith in Herbert. It's just,
Yeah.
but will the defense and the rest of the team show up?
It's
That's
just a shame. It truly is because they played so well,
yeah.
between Herbert and Keenan Allen and Johnston, Guyton, Eckler. They played so well.
Yeah.
It's just a shame. But one thing before I forget, Stone Smart, he was targeted a couple times, and I don't know if he had any catches.
No,
I don't
no.
know what he's doing on the field, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah. I think I counted like 3 times he was targeted on big downs too, like
Yeah, yeah,
down, and he couldn't catch it. And
yeah.
when has he ever been a receiving threat for us?
That's what I was saying. I'm like, why is this guy on the field so much? One, and
Yeah,
why is he being targeted
yeah.
on important downs too? Like, where's Parham? Where's Everett? I don't know if Everett
Everett
was
Everett
injured.
Everett got hurt.
He got
Everett
hurt.
got
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
okay, but still, you have Parham. Why are you going with Smart? He can't catch a ball.
Yeah.
It's like going to Quentin Johnston in his first game of his career, throwing to him 15 times and expecting him to catch all 15. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, during the game, I was saying, why aren't those targets just going to Johnston instead?
Yeah,
Because he was at least getting pass interference calls or catching the ball, a lot of the time.
yeah,
So
yeah. It was ironic. There were people commenting, like Lions fans, that the refs are bailing Chargers out. I was like, this is the first time I've ever heard that in my life. That the
yeah,
refs are bailing the Chargers out.
there was a guy right behind me, yelling like, "Oh, you've got your 6th down now, 7th down." And it was funny because the guy right next to me, Chargers season ticket holder, started playing the violin. Like, we were just laughing at the guy.
I mean, we get screwed by the refs every week, basically. So
Yeah, yeah,
if they were to help us 1 week and we still lost,
yeah,
but
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
it's I don't know, man. We have to win Sunday
We do.
because if we don't, I don't know. Because if we don't and we lose to the Ravens, forget it. 7 losses at that point, forget it. So that's how important this game is.
Yeah,
Even if we get to 6 losses, right? We lose to the Ravens, I
mhm,
think we win out
yeah,
because Chiefs look like they're going to clinch the division now.
yeah,
Each team has 5 losses. Raiders have 5. Yeah, each team has 5 losses.
yeah.
So they win a couple more, they're going to clinch. Then week 18, they rest their players. We win that game, and we go into the playoffs, I think. Unless Andy Reid goes, no, we're not letting these guys get in. And he plays the starters, then we're screwed, kind of. But
Well, if we're in a position where we can make the playoffs, it's still. I still believe we can beat teams like the Chiefs.
I think we can. I
Yeah,
think we can. It's
yeah,
just a matter of who's going to play, right? Is Palmer going to be there? Is Eckler going to be healthy? Is Bosa going to be healthy? And that's a question we ask every week,
yeah,
right? So who's going to be on the field? And if they're all on the field, yes, we can win.
yeah,
But if we play like we did in Kansas City, then
yeah. And are we gonna allow single coverage to Kelsey? It's like, what is our scheme gonna be?
yeah. And
Yeah,
there's a big Monday night game, Eagles Chiefs. Had we won against the Lions, that would have been a huge game to watch. But now it doesn't matter, I don't think.
yeah,
I mean, if they lose, they're 7-3. We're what 5-5 if we win. That's
yeah,
still 2 out.
yeah,
So they would need to lose one more at least, and we would have to win out to even have a chance at the division. That's week 18, and I don't see that happening. I don't see them losing, I should say. They do have a tough schedule, but I just think that they're going to close it out and make sure to clinch that division.
yeah. All right, guys. Well, be sure to subscribe and smash that like button. And hey, go Chargers.
We need to win Sunday.
Yeah, definitely. All right, see you, man.
Yeah.